stage. The better he is. Farmers are going to triumph, and what a triumph it is. The sweet sound of the
Take two. All right. Nearly some technical issues there. Helps if I don't have my video playing back as I go live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Dom Pod. We're live on Facebook.
Good evening, Sam.
Hello, Nathan. We're live. And we're very excited.
Oh, that's exciting. I don't think you told me that.
Oh, I definitely did. We are here to preview round 3 action. And it doesn't get any easier for us. The Melbourne Demons, reigning premiers.
Oh, I see what you're doing there.
Yeah, just what we need. Friday night footy. It's nice to be back at the MCG as well. Second time this year, actually. I forgot about that bit. We obviously go in 0-2, Melbourne 2-0. Safe to say they're in a better position. You would think. How do you feel? Give me just a little bit of how you feel heading in.
Well, look, to be honest, I've seen the teams, and we're going to discuss that, but I'm a little bit up. I've seen things that we've talked about, and it's made me positive. I also had one of the, you know how, as a stupid supporter that we are, that we sort of get these feelings sometimes, don't we? You know, like we go, when everything's against you, you think, no, we can win this. Like this is, and I have that feeling this week now. Often it's wrong. But yeah, I've got the feeling. So I'm excited.
You're either a genius or an idiot.
More of an idiot, I'm
with
sure.
These things.
Sure.
I have the same feeling, and we'll get into. Well, there's no real reason why, but we'll talk more about it. As seems to be the case at the minute, the last 5 games against the D's, seems like every time I do this, it reads about the same. 1 win from the 5 games, that coming in 2019. Round 3, interestingly, if you're into, numbers and stuff.
So we've beaten them in round 3.
We have beaten them in round 3, yes. And the last
that's the sort of information I like.
God, if I could clear my throat. The last 2 times we've played them, only been 11 and 19 point margins. So kind of promising aspect, I guess, on that, in that Melbourne have been good, and obviously last year were the best team in the comp, and we were within 2 goals. So,
and when we played them last year, they went like they'd only lost a couple, hadn't they? Whereas we'd lost a few.
Well, yeah, we were first. Jesus, try again. They were first on the ladder, and we were 10th. And I think you said earlier they had 2 losses, and we had about 8 or 9. When we looked at it.
Yeah, I think 6 or 7 was, that's the
we'd
actual
lost
number.
a few anyway.
Yeah. So they were at the time, and to lose by a couple of goals last year at that time, they were playing okay footy.
Playing very good football. They'd lost to Adelaide, and then they'd lost to Collingwood rather unexpectedly. The Adelaide game was a ripper, but the Collingwood game was just a bit of a shit show from them, to be fair.
But they'd also beaten Brisbane and Doggies too.
Yep.
All right.
So in that game, just back on that last year's game. So we had Jones and Wright kick 2 each. So obviously without Jones this time round. Heppel, Hooker, Smith and Stringer with the 1 each. And we are without 2 of those. Merritt, 41 touches. This hurts us. Parrish, 37 and 8 clearances. Pretty handy game from him. And Langford, 29 and 5 clearances. So we've lost probably 2 of our best 3 players from that game. Against the D's. Just while we're on Merritt, pretty amazing record. We looked at him today. Out of a possible 177 games, he's played 167 and has missed 2 games since 2017.
That's very durable.
That's unreal.
Very durable. And was it 2 of those games? The 2 games he's missed were reports.
For whacking a Carlton player.
Whacking Carlton players. Woohoo, we thought.
Well, if you're going to go.
And they were both, as I recall, I don't want to say piss weak, but they were pretty soft whacks. Like the Silvani one was just a rib tickler, which is Very similar to what Draper did last week, actually, now I think about it.
Yeah, outcome.
Yeah. That's right. Silvani broke his... Did he have
broke his ribs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why I call him all paper ribs these days.
Yeah. Fair enough. And the other one was Plowman, as I recall. So
I mean, if you're going to go...
interesting. Punch a Carlton player. That's the way to go.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
Don't slap a comedian, though. We're totally against that.
We don't advocate violence.
Totally. Footy field's all a bit different, you know.
Yeah. Blurred lines. Blurred lines,
that's right.
For the Demons... sorry, just making sure I'm recording this as well. For the Demons, Petrarca and James Jordan, and I have to read that 3 times to make sure it's not 2 blokes, James and Jordan, kicked 2 each. They had Harms, McDonald, Jackson, Sparrow, and Spargo kick the 1. Oliver, 34 touches and 7 clearances, a bit of a bull, as we know. Petrarca, and I say this, grain of salt, only 26 touches, 2 clearances, but he did kick the 2 goals. So I don't know this, but I dare say he would have gotten the votes because of the goals.
Yeah, fair enough.
Would be my feel.
So,
I was at that game. It was one of the first games I went to last year. It was bloody cold. And we could have won it. We were in it. We talked about this last week. We were beaten by what we knew, and that was bombing it on Lever and May's head.
Lever's not there this week?
Lever's not there, which is useful. But we were in that game, so it gives us... It gives some... I guess... I don't know what the word is. Justification that we feel like we might just maybe sort of kind of might...
Yep.
win.
And then I'll ask you, what do you think then, if you look at our ins, what do you think they've done right there?
Well, I'll read through the teams. That's an excellent segue.
Sorry.
In comes Andrew Phillips, Dylan Shield, and Rusty Martin, otherwise known as Nick Martin. But we'll be known as Rusty Martin on the Don Pod. And essentially, Wanganeen. Wanganeen will start the game. He's the medi-sub from last week, but he will play.
Great to hear.
Yes.
Great to hear.
Awesome. I wish I had a sound effect lined up for that, but there you go. And out of the side goes Francis omitted, Smith omitted, Cox injured, and Merritt injured, of course. So you ask
really interesting outs, aren't they?
Yeah, Francis is rough.
I agree.
I think really
we're fans. I mean, let's just let everyone know we're fans of Francis. I mean, I know Francis can be polarizing to supporters, but Sam and I are both fans of the way he plays the game and what he does. I know he can frustrate some people, but I'm a big fan of what he does. So
it's a small sample size, I'll admit, for me. But when he played VFL, there's a VFL game a couple of years ago that was televised, so it might have been finals. And he was playing in defence, and he just took mark after mark after mark, run at the football so hard. And that was the first time last week in an AFL game as a forward that I've really noticed him do that. So that's disappointing, but I guess, with Phillips coming in...
Well, that's right. With Phillips coming in, I get it. Should we talk about Devon Smith?
Yeah, Dev out. Didn't touch the ball, didn't lay a tackle in the second half last week. We're not surprised. I guess we're surprised in the sense that we talk
I am
about
surprised,
these
to be
things
honest.
And they never happen.
I am surprised because I felt like he was a bit of an untouchable.
Nah, not with Trucker.
So, well, I think it's great to see that a guy that he only had 4 touches in the first half too, with no tackles. But in the second half, he went with nothing. That it was great to see that sort of a response from the coaches. That's just not good enough. And I believe that we're going to get more from Wanganeen in that creativity, small forward role. That he's going to be able to pressure and tackle and slip around the back and snag a couple of sausage rolls, I reckon.
Well, yeah, I mean, I laugh at what you said, but you're right. You really, with Tex, and even with Nick Martin, maybe to a lesser extent.
Yep.
At least you're not guaranteed anything, but just that youthful bit of, I'm not going to say injection, that's a taboo word, but youthful exuberance in the side that worst case scenario, they're going to chase, they're going to harass a little bit, they're going to put pressure on. They might not get a kick, they might not get a goal, whatever,
Yep,
but
you're right.
you at least
They get.
get to see a bit more effort, maybe.
I'm really interested to see Rusty play second game because I mean, where do you go from 27 and 5? Like, and it's interesting because it is hard to top, but he has form. Like in the one preseason game against the Doggies and the St Kilda game, he only came on for about a half each, and I think it was the St Kilda game where he had 10 or 12 touches in a quarter and maybe a goal. Like he did a lot in those games too. Yeah, he did a lot in those games too. So, look, I'm a bit excited about what he'll do in this game. I honestly think he'll go 15 to 20 touches again and maybe a couple of goals. Seriously, I think.
Yeah, if he can get himself a couple of goals and get up near that 20-touch sort of mark, we've got ourselves a good player anyway. We watched him and thought he fits. He fits at AFL and he has time. I don't know. It's that whole Pendlebury thing. He just has time, and other guys don't.
Yep,
for a bloke
he does.
that wasn't on a list in February.
That's right.
And
the other thing I want to talk about is Phillips. So I'm really excited to see two ruckmen in the team. Now we were probably calling for Brian.
I was just about to ask you, were you surprised that it's Phillips?
I don't look. This is where I leave it to the coaches of the Essendon Football Club who go, well, maybe we'll pick Phillips because he's a bigger, more mature body. Yeah, against like Bryant and Draper are still young kids. Like Draper's 15, 20 games? Like he's still very early on in his career. Bryant's played one, I think. Wouldn't be any more, would it?
Just the game against Carlton, I believe.
Yeah, we don't have to fact check. There's not many. Whereas Phillips, he's 27, 28, sort of maybe even older. He's a big body. He's going to be able to, battle up against Maxi Gawn and let Draper and Jackson, I think, Jackson's a quality player, but he's going to get a lot of pressure off Draper. Draper's going to enjoy smashing into him and showing him that, hey, you're not the best young kid around. I think I am. That's why I reckon Draper's attitude is going to go in with. He's going to be, I think you think you're the best, I'm going to show you I can beat you.
Yeah. And the other, I think you're right that it's Phillips because of the opposition.
Yeah.
And I hope we hope obviously that the two ruck thing stays because we think it's necessary. But I mean we're plebs. But it's nice when this sort of thing happens. But I would be more interested to see if it happens again next week when the opposition is, I want to say, Adelaide. Who don't have two completely dominant ruckmen, and whether or not we go back to a more.
The reason why we like this is because other big clubs like Melbourne are doing this. Richmond are doing it. Yep. Yeah. So there's a lot of clubs going in now with two recognised ruckmen. Even North Melbourne's trying to do it. Like Brisbane, I'd say, are doing it.
We said good clubs. Let's not get carried away.
Well, North Melbourne, they're not a good club, but they're trying to build into a good club. Like, they're going, well, where's the future? And the kids they're going with, ex-Eri, and I'm calling him that. I know, it annoys you. And Karen Coleman? No, it's not Coleman Jones. He's hyphenated. Came from Richmond. So they're over there. Is it? Yeah, Coleman Jones and Goldstein. So they're going in with almost 3. Didn't work first week.
Well, it hasn't worked for them. But
I think it's great to see.
I've mentioned it several times that you want to emulate the best, and Melbourne are the best, so I like it. But again, I'm keen to see whether it sticks next week or not.
Yep. Great.
The other one there is Shield. I guess we were told he didn't look likely. What was that, a press conference, or was that just talk?
I think it was talk. Well, there was the reports from the training were that he didn't do much at all at training. Okay. So
we're maybe
I was surprised.
Him to be a
well, then I listening to Truck's sort of thing about the selection video that they have on the Essendon website. He mentioned that Shield wasn't that bad, and that he's right to play basically. So we'll go with that.
Well, that's good.
Who does get the medicals up? I'm always still confused by this.
Well, I'm actually literally just going to look for the emergencies now because I didn't jot them down. when I looked
Thank you,
earlier.
'cause I-
Hobbs, Zerk Thatcher, Devon Smith, and Alec Waterman. So out of that lot, I would probably go with Waterman. I don't think it can be Zerk Thatcher.
No, because
He's
he's
too
only plays
one-dimensional.
defence. Yep, agree.
Dev, again, is not really helping anything if he was to come on.
No, he's not. Again, not a
Hobbs,
sub.
maybe.
Like Cutler makes a good sub. Hobbs, maybe Hobbs. That's how he gets his introduction, like Wanganeen last year. Maybe they've got a little formula.
We need to talk about that, don't we, actually?
Yeah, we need to maybe apologise.
Well, we need to recognise when we were wrong. Oh, not wrong. Whatever, wrong.
Well, we found more information. How's I would describe it?
Truck was on AFL 360.
360, wasn't it? Yep.
Always worth a listen. Truck speaks really well, and he's on there with Hardwick, two old Essendon. Well, they were together at Richmond. Hardwick ex-Essendon, Rutten now Essendon. It's quite entertaining. Sort of said that, you know, if he's given the choice of whether he goes and plays VFL or sits on an AFL bench, then he's choosing an AFL bench every day of the week, which I don't mind. I can see value in that.
So Wanganeen made the choice to play as the sub. He was happy to do that. He was excited to do that, get that experience.
And he could have been on after 5 minutes. Like, you never know
Exactly.
in that scenario. It just so happens we
who
lost
knows?
2 players in the last quarter.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, true.
Yes.
Well, I agree. I guess now hearing that sort of side of it, that it was the decision was part of Wanganeen. Well, Wanganeen was involved in the decision. We were pretty. I was a bit upset in it because I don't like that whole putting someone on the sub. But hearing that, I'll go, well, that's fair enough. And sometimes good clubs just give that piece of information out because that then takes the frustration, I don't know, out of the supporters that, you know, don't know. So if that information's good. That's good communication.
It doesn't have to appease anyone, but it's good to be addressed, I guess.
It doesn't have to appease, but it's just nice to hear. You're right.
Yeah.
Anyway, good stuff.
For the D's, they are essentially unchanged. Their medi sub
Well, would you?
was an out, which I still haven't wrapped my head around that. But anyway, that's how they were named. Toby Bedford out and no ins. So their team is fairly strong. Obviously, we touched on it earlier. No Lever, which is
no
useful. Is that as in Michael Hibbard?
Yeah, that boy.
I wouldn't have him in here, best 22 anyway.
Oh, well, he played in the.
He played in the Premiership. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Premiership. I'm pretty sure he's a Premiership player now.
Are we going to say no Melksham as well? Oh, he's emergency Melks. Okay, there you go. Oh, no.
Did he play in the grand? Was he a grand final player?
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
No. So yeah, fairly. I mean, as good as it gets for Melbourne. Really, sans Lever. You know, Petrarca's come off basically 38 plus the last 4 games of football he's played. He scares me more than probably any other player there. But
they're the reigning premiers who have just wound in the season or just rolled in the season with 2 wins. They don't have to do anything special at the start of the year. They just have to tick over the scoreboard. So they're building up for round 23 and onwards. But so they're a good side. There's no other way to look at it.
Yep, they are unreal. Now, some key areas that we've got here to sort of chat about. Don't apologise.
Okay.
Obviously, the matchup side of things is, I mean, like we just said, Melbourne are a good side, so they've got good players everywhere. And although Ben Brown and Tom McDonald aren't necessarily brilliant footballers, they do a bloody good job in that forward line. Fritsch, I reckon, has been pretty quiet for the 2 weeks, but he's dangerous as a medium-sized forward that we don't really defend well against normally anyway. We did get slated a bit in the comments last week that we didn't give Jake Kelly enough credit for the game against the Lions. So not slated, but we were told off. He was quite good. My mantra on defenders is if I don't notice them, they'll probably okay.
But look, Jake Kelly, I think we mentioned him in the first week. And And I guess, we didn't mention him because there's a few other players to mention, to be honest, in that game last week. He played a great game, and he does his role, and we knew he would do that. We have he's going to do that week in, week out. I'm not going to be surprised by that. It's
Basically
a bit like
what we expected.
Yeah, it's a bit like the Verde. I'll probably never talk about him, but he's going to just do his job. There's a few guys at our club that just do their job, and Kelly's dependable. He's one of those guys going to do that, and that's awesome.
Yep, so that'll be matchup-wise, that'll be one. And then, so how they match up against Laverde, Stewart and Ridley. Stewart obviously coming off probably a tough week for him, given the criticism of that one moment. I don't need to go over again. And then in the midfield, I can't tell you what I've actually written there, but Petrarca and Oliver versus Parrish and God knows, we'll say.
Here's what my analysis of the midfield is, that Melbourne are going to trust their system. And this is the term we've heard. I know you do that. Oh, God, trust us.
Well, it's prevalent for us because Truck's talked about it.
Yeah, I know. And Truck made this comment after the fact that we didn't tag Neil because he came out and sort of, I think it was on 360 or one of those interviews, where he said, well, I guess, and there's understand. I get this. It's just frustrating to watch when you watch a team just play a destroyer. That they're trying to build a system where they think their system will beat the other team's system. A bit like what Melbourne have done, because Melbourne don't tag. They believe that Petrarca, Oliver, Viney, Langdon, Sparrow, those sort of guys that get on there, on the wing, are going to hurt you more than the guys, on the opposition. That's what they do.
When you're the best team in the comp, that stacks up.
That's when the system, you can say, hey, our system works because it's won your flag, So, and I get that that's what we want to do. So you're going to see in this game, I can guarantee, Parrish will have, what did you have last time? Did you say 8 or 10 clearances? He'll have that again. He'll have 35 plus touches. Viney and Truck will do pretty well, I reckon. Oliver? But we're going to throw, Oliver, we're going to throw. Be interesting to see who takes Merritt's spot. Who's going to, if it's McGrath, I think it probably will be McGrath. She'll obviously will be in there more. But I think McGrath will get a bit more midfield and get off that half back and get into the midfield because of his run and carry. Because that's, I'm not going to say he's as good as kick as Merritt, but he's going to bring that run and he's going to bring that run and carry that we're going to lose from Merritt. Because Merritt's he's a bit of an outside mid who gets the ball and delivers it and can kick forward. Makes great decisions. He's a very clever football player. So who's going to do that? Shield, possibly, but we do have a bit of doubts over his left foot. McGrath, probably similar. We have a bit of issues about both his feet.
That kind of shows the whole, doesn't it? In that we don't really have mids that can kick. It's been the knock on Shield forever. It was the knock on Das last year.
Parrish can't kick.
It's worth noting, only got a chance in that midfield because of injury.
Yep.
So whoever gets that guy, whoever gets their spot in that midfield because Merritt is out, has to grab it with both hands. And remember, Parrish forced his way in that midfield and
kept himself in that midfield.
That's what I mean. Kept himself in there and finished equal fifth in the Brownlow.
Well, that's right. When Shield came back, Parrish didn't get thrown to the half forward line again. He said, "No, I'm now the number one midfielder."
There would have been a riot.
It would have been. So, look, glass half full. We're going to look at this. Merritt sucks. We love Merritt. Yep. Great player. But interesting to see who's going to get those CBAs now that he's out of there. So, obviously, could it be Rusty? Could we see him hanging around there? He's a good user of the footy. Small kid. Got a good tank on him, obviously. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I don't think it'll be Apple because that'll be a step back.
Yes. I don't think it'll be Rusty. I think he's more valuable wing half forward. A bit like, playing that Laverde role, I guess. Laverde, Jesus. Langford. I
knew who you meant too. I was like, yeah.
The L one.
Yep.
They're interchangeable. And I was going somewhere else with that, and then I got all confused because I said the wrong name. No, that's my fault. We do have a plethora of mids. Like, we've got McGrath, Shield, all these guys to squeeze into that midfield. And we talked about how deep our midfield goes. Well, now's the time to show it. It's just that
Does Caldwell get more midfield time? Does Sam Durham?
Jai.
Does Sam Durham come up and play a little bit of that too?
Jesus.
So
Probably Caldwell is the. He was pretty high centre bounce attendances anyway. Like he was already playing pretty.
He's not. He wasn't at the top. He was more at that sort of middle to him. And I wonder also if they've been putting a lot of faith in Perkins. I wonder if they
would like to see a bit of that. Yeah, I like Perko.
Yeah, because of does Tex play that higher role and pushes Perkins up there? These are all things I think we don't know. I'm not in the Essendon football club, so yeah, we know nothing. I don't know why you even listen to us. But hey, okay, too harsh. But it'll be interesting to see. We'll watch that game. We'll see where the stats come out, where the CBAs attend, and who gets to them more. So we'll learn more about our club. We'll learn about a player that's been given responsibility for the next 6 weeks or so.
For a bloke doing a podcast, I do forget about players quite a lot. Caldwell's a great shout. And now you've said it, I'm really excited actually to see Perkins because Perko has that ability to just sidestep, just to try and get around a guy rather than some other guys who might just chuck the ball in the boot, which I don't mind. When you're in traffic and you chuck the ball in the boot, that's fine.
Yep.
I can cop that on the chin.
But he's not a panicker.
Down the field
Perkins doesn't panic.
Make that kick work, yeah. Whereas Perko got caught a lot last year. But this year seems to have sort of figured out what he can get away with. And I love it. So
yeah, whereas McGrath, I'd say, is a bit more of a panicker. Shield's a bit of a panicker. Whereas Perkins is not a panicker. Caldwell's... I don't know enough about Caldwell. I haven't seen enough of his games. I've only really seen him play 4 games for us. So
yeah,
anyway, these are all exciting things.
And then I'll just touch on this quickly because we're kind of pushed for time here. How Stephen May, you would assume, is going to take right. But this is where playing that second ruckman will stretch their defence maybe just that little bit. And then how Jackson and Gawn go against Draper, I had written, definitely didn't expect Phillips in, so it will be the 2 rucks and how they
which is
match
great.
Up. We'll skip over the rest of the matchups. I think we sort of spoke enough about them in the midfield.
Well, I think the midfield's where the game's going to be won. Yeah. It's going to be clearances. It's going to be getting the... Well, it is. Today's modern football is about that clearance, and clearance is kings at the moment. And if you can pump it in to your forward line more than they do, and unlike last week, be a bit more accurate in what you do with it, then you've got a chance of winning it.
Yeah. Just some other numbers I'll throw at you. So we looked pretty heavily at points for, points against. You dickhead. During the off-season, and it's no surprise that good teams don't concede. They may not score, have the highest points for, but they have, less points against. Melbourne, for the first 2 weeks, 69 and 71, or 71 and 69 in order, as their 2 points against. So pretty miserly defence, which is no surprise, as opposed to us, 138 and 97. So... in a losing side, 97, I guess, isn't horrible, but...
100 points, anywhere around 100 points, I think you've done it wrong. But yeah, that's going to be the next challenge for us, is to defend better.
And we've scored 72 and 75. So, again, this is not brand new information.
Short sample size.
We need to be better with the ball in our forward line. Excellent segue. I love a good bloody segue. VFL this week is going to be pretty stacked.
Exciting news.
So obviously, hang on, lad.
Well, I was going to say, is it on the live AFL live?
It should be on the AFL app and possibly KO. I'm not sure about KO, but definitely live on the AFL website. They'll have, unless Devon comes in as a emergency, they'll have him. They'll have Francis. They will have Zach Reed. Very exciting. I was going to watch it just for him, and then we found out that tonight, Tipper will be in the VFL side this week, which is just...
Look, there's some exciting things there.
For him, awesome that he's back to footy and feels like he's in a place where he wants to get back into footy. That's awesome for the man, but it's pretty bloody awesome for us too, as supporters that just want, 1, a functional forward line, and 2, our most exciting player on the park.
They wrote a song about him, Sam.
They did write a song about him. Apparently he likes playing footy.
The other thing too from that is that the Big Bear
Oh, yes. Miko.
What you calling?
Miko.
Right. Okay. Never heard him called Miko.
Miko Hurley. Yeah, it's what his
So
mate's called
early.
him.
Oh, well, you'd
Hells,
know.
if you're listening, just text us and tell us we're wrong. It's fine.
Oh, no, it's fair. He is expected to play a half. I think next week or the week after, something like that. Which is great news, I think. Awesome,
Yeah.
very important player at the club. And I wonder if all going well, could we see him pushing into our team in the seniors?
Again, he can play forward or back, and we have issues with our forward line more so, and then our back line. So there's no reason he can't, but same as Waller. It's just great to see them both playing footy again. I mean, not Hurley yet, but it will be awesome just to see him back on the park. Hurley's been
also Reed
for 13, 14 years. So, he's Essendon.
He's gone through some.
He's gone through some
honest.
shit, yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. So,
give him some success. One final just a win of a final before it leaves the damn thing.
Just get through a year of footy, Hurls, and we'll be fine.
Yeah. So look, I think that's why I'm feeling a bit buoyed.
A bit buoyed. Wow.
Bit buoyed. Bit buoyed that there's some good. Tip and Woody could be back in the side. Reed we could see him play senior football in a few weeks. Say he plays 3 or 4, I don't know, VFL games, get some, consistency up. And Miko, what do we call it? Miko?
Miko. Yeah. Miko.
Yeah.
It's just positive.
he
It's
might
just
even get
little positives. If we're not winning games of football, it's just some good stuff to see. And
got to find the positives.
Zach Reed is exciting because that's our future. High draft pick. He's a big boy.
Everything he's still growing. He's 237 centimeters.
I have to think of a nickname for him. Big boy's probably don't worry about it.
He could be the new unicorn. He could be unicorn number 2.
Unicorn.
So that's what Cox is. Plays on the wings. Oh, rare. It's an impossible thing.
Okay.
Come on.
I was trying to think of 7-seater, 2-meter leader Peter. It was meant to be, wasn't it? He was meant to be 2 meters tall as soon as I named him Peter. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. We will wrap up. Just a few housekeeping little things. One, still head over to our YouTube and hit subscribe. You can win yourself a share in football signed by the Dons.
If we win a game?
Camera. When we win a game. I tried to show it on camera last week, but the whole background thing didn't quite work out for me. So you just have to believe me. Red Sharon, your cool gold Essendon logo signed by the players. Can't go wrong. We do have a little link now in our description on YouTube saying buy me a coffee. No obligations for you to do this at all, of course. It will always be free. We want to improve.
Coffee.
We want to keep improving the pod, and as you can see, Nathan has a lovely new microphone planted there in front of him. So it's just a way for us
cover my nose.
It's quite big. The microphone, not your nose.
Oh, good.
It's just a way for us to maybe keep improving the stream. The podcast.
Because we're certainly getting better.
We think we are, but we can always keep improving.
This is our best one so far.
We can always improve, and with your support, we'll get better and better and better. So, as I said, we'll always be free. But if you feel the urge, that would be appreciated. Subscribing is more than enough just at this point. I want to just get into a few comments because we are live on Facebook. Alfie Sanchez has been here the whole time. Thank you, Alfie.
Go, Alfie.
And he has commented 4 times. And that is the extent of our comments. So,
sorry, Alfie. Alfie. We should have been listening.
Appreciate you a lot getting in the comments. Now, that just reloaded on me. That's annoying. So, thoughts on Francis being dropped, kind of touched on that. Telling us he can hear
Not
now.
happy, to be honest.
So that's a good sign that he can hear us half an hour later. Looking forward to Stringer versus Track in the middle. That would be a good contest.
Yeah,
we didn't factor Stringer
good point. Didn't think of that. Yep, that will be a blitzer.
Bit of a Lloyd off the half back line on Sewell, straight through him.
That's not.
Don't advocate violence.
No, Will Smith, the bastard.
And Will does run with Langdon. That is not a question I can answer because I don't really think about football that way.
Sorry, what? Oh, that's...
Sam Durham, run with Langdon.
Oh, does Durham run with Langdon?
Yeah.
Is that what the question is? Well,
You paraphrased, but yeah, that was the essence.
yeah. Well, I mean, they're both going to be on a wing. You know, but Langdon can chop you up. He's usually can go back
quick,
and have a.
isn't he?
Well, actually, he goes usually back and helps the defenders when he's that guy that usually gets in there and is that extra. I remember in the game last week he had a great one-on-one with somebody. I can't think of the opposition, but he as a wingman he got back and helped the defenders. Great example, Nathan. I'll move on.
Excellent story. That was fantastic. Yeah.
No. Yeah, good point. Young fella knows his stuff.
Yep. Look, we're probably going to keep doing this on Facebook. We like the opportunity to interact and answer some questions and have things thrown
Not
at us
answering well
because we don't know everything. So, if we've... My worst nightmare is having some sort of glaring omission that we're just completely missing the point of something. So having you here to tell us off live is great. So again, thank you for that, Alfie. That's really awesome. And
Thanks,
the
Alfie.
last thing, and you're not going to sing, I forbid you singing. Please give me your tip.
Just the tip with Sam and Nate.
Anyway.
It's just the tip with Nate and Sam.
Okay, we got through it. It was 3 seconds on to get back. But we got
Just
through
some comments of what people thought of the just the tip with
it.
Sam and Nate.
Okay, so we need a
Won't do
jingle.
it twice.
No, just give me your flipping tip and we'll wrap this thing up.
Well, I'm actually going to go to the Bombers.
Bye.
I know it's stupid. This is a Bombers podcast. 12 points. I just have a feeling. I really do. I think that we were better for a quarter and a bit. Yes, last week we were crap for 4 quarters the first week. So if we're better for now, if we double that again and we get 2.5, no, the math's not right. But if we can get like 2.5, 3 quarters of good footy, I think they're not. I think Melbourne are not at their peak. They're susceptible early in the year, and that's all I'm going with.
Tip ever. Dons by 12. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, that's the answer.
Okay. Alfie's just come in with the Melbourne by 55. So.
Oh, Alfie! Not the attitude, Alfie.
Just burst Nathan's bubble. Christ.
Alfie, come on.
I am more buoyant than I was last week. I can't see even a slight way that we're going to win this, and then we could have won it, as it turns out. I will say the Dons by 1. So if I'm wrong, I'm as close as I can be.
Seriously.
It'll be a close game. We're not going to smash them. We're not going to run away with it.
No, but Dons by 1 is a bit.
Look,
just hop off the fence for a second.
It's in the contract. We have to tip Essendon. So
I didn't tip them last week. I'm proud to say that. It's in the new
contracts we signed during the week.
All right. Fair enough. Yeah, I'll just read it again.
Imagine if we had contracts. Christ.
So, well, we'd be getting paid then, Sam, if we got a contract.
Yeah, if anyone wants to sponsor, we're all for it. Alfie, you run a business? No.
Alfie, what are you doing?
All right, we'll wrap it up there. We've been waffling for more than enough time.
Just a quick watch. Ooh, doggies are in Sydney. Yep.
Oh,
go watch some footy, we will.
We're going to go watch the footy. Again, thank you, Alfie. Seems you're the only one that stuck around, so that's mighty fine of you.
Good commitment, Alfie.
Thank you, Nathan, and thank you, everyone,
Thanks,
listening to this on your Friday. I assume no one's going to listen to it after the fact. That would be a bit strange. Go Dons. We might see if we can get the review done a bit earlier this week and maybe post it a bit earlier than the Monday night. Monday night's a long time after Friday night football, so we'll see how we go. If not, go Dons. See how we go against the best team.
Go Bombers.
Go Dons.